Under the moonless Yemeni night, the MHX-9 Predator ghosted through the sky with a grace that belied its weight. Engine hum subdued, radar profile practically non-existent. It was the kind of machine the enemy wouldn't see until it was far too late. Inside the cockpit, Major Danielle Grimhawk Reyes kept her gloved hands steady on the controls, eyes scanning her HUD as if it might blink with new threats. "Briggs, talk to me," she said without turning. Her voice was calm, clipped, professional, just as it had been in every op since Kandahar. "Signals clean so far, some encrypted traffic bouncing off a relay tower northeast, but it's not aimed at us," Lieutenant Cody Briggs replied, half focused on his console. "Could be local militia, or just bad guys watching their goat memes." She cracked the hint of a smile. "That's not comforting." "It's Yemen. Nothing here is." The Predator cut low through a canyon, barely 10 feet above the ridgeline. The pair were en route to recon a suspected Houthi drone control compound, buried somewhere in these mountains like a termite hive. The mission was supposed to be simple: fly in undetected, scan and tag the facility, then exfil before anyone knew they were there. But Reyes had learned long ago that simplicity was the first casualty of real-world combat. Her eyes narrowed. "I'm getting faint thermal blooms ahead. Could be campfires or engine exhaust." Briggs tapped into the FLIR overlay, enhancing the shapes. "That's weird. Too regular. Spaced evenly. Not natural." "Anti-air batteries?" she asked, already adjusting their vector 5 degrees off course. "Number, wait." His fingers danced across his controls. "Hold up. We're being painted. Briefly. Low frequency, like they're probing." That confirmed it. Someone knew they were coming. "Abort recon?" Reyes hesitated. The strategic value of the compound was high. If it really was a Houthi drone hive, command needed eyes on it. But her gut, the thing that had kept her alive through a dozen wars, was whispering that something wasn't right. "5 more clicks," she said. "No closer." Just a sniff, then we bug out. They swept across the mountain pass, hugging terrain and dipping through radar shadows. The Predator's systems picked up increased chatter on several bands, none of it friendly. Then it happened. Sudden jamming on their comms, high gain and wideband. Reyes growled. "They're trying to blind us." Briggs was already working, redirecting signal paths through onboard mesh relays. "I can keep us in touch with the Defiant, but someone's definitely watching." Ahead, the canyon opened into a bowl-shaped depression, a perfect spot for a facility and a nightmare for any aircraft that got caught inside. As they passed over the ridge, the ground below erupted in muzzle flashes. "RPGs, 3 o'clock!" Reyes yanked the stick hard, twisting the Predator sideways. The first rocket missed, whistling past the tail. The second clipped the rotor guard. The third detonated prematurely, thanks to the Predator's active decoy system. Still, the impact rocked them, throwing Briggs against his harness. "We're hit. Stabilizers damaged, losing lift." He fought to reroute power. "We've got a narrow landing window. Gorge 2 clicks west." Reyes made the call. With full authority, she pushed the Predator into a controlled descent, her fingers never leaving the cyclic as the machine groaned beneath her. The gorge was tight, a crack in the earth barely wider than the aircraft, but she dropped the bird in with surgical precision, rotors folding on descent, stealth paint absorbing the last glints of enemy targeting lasers. The Predator touched down with a juddering thud. Silence reclaimed the canyon for a moment, as if even the air was catching its breath. Briggs was first to unbuckle. "We're grounded until repairs or evac. Can't take off with that stabilizer fried." "Then we hold," Reyes replied, already out of her seat, moving to the rear hatch. The internal weapon systems activated with a low hum. 2 sentry drones zipped out, hovering silently above the crevice entrance. Camouflage netting deployed, breaking up the predator's silhouette with natural debris. Briggs pulled up satellite terrain overlays. We're 20 minutes from any patrol range. No cavalry coming fast. Reyes locked eyes with him. Then we make 20 minutes feel like 20 years. Already, movement stirred on the ridge above them. A group of 6 figures crept along the ledge, armed and confident, likely assuming they'd just downed another easy American prize. Briggs activated the drone cameras. They have no idea. They will. She grabbed her rifle and keyed the squad comms. The lead Houthi gunman signaled to his comrades. They fanned out, preparing to descend. But before they could get within 100 yards, one of the Predator's sentries flared to life, scanning, identifying, and firing with pinpoint precision. The first man dropped before he heard the D shot. Panic rippled through the others. 2 fled, 1 fired wildly. The last 3 tried to flank. Reyes stepped into view and laid down suppressing fire, pushing them back behind the rocks. Briggs tapped his console. Enemy chatter going crazy. They're calling in reinforcements. We've got company inbound. 20+ signatures moving fast. Let them come, Reyes said, eyes hard. The camera drone panned across the distant ridge. A small, wheeled robot rolled into view. Houthi recon tech, likely patched together with Iranian parts and black market scraps. It stopped, scanned the gorge, and beamed the footage back to its operators. Briggs frowned. They just saw what we are, or rather what we're not. A moment later, the robot exploded, taken out by a precision dart from one of the sentry drones. But the damage was done. Whoever was watching now knew they hadn't bagged a Black Hawk or Chinook. They'd shot at something far more dangerous. And that knowledge would only embolden them, or drive them to eliminate the evidence. Reyes leaned back against the hull for a moment, catching her breath. Her eyes scanned the gorge walls, calculating fallback points and potential traps. They had a narrow window, limited resources, and no certainty of rescue. But they also had something the Houthis didn't: experience, ingenuity, and the full wrath of one of Earth's most advanced war machines. Briggs looked up from his screen. ETA on enemy reinforcements, 10 minutes. Reyes nodded. Then we hold for 10, and leave nothing standing after. Somewhere high above, the stars watched in silence as a forgotten canyon prepared to turn into a graveyard. The ground trembled slightly beneath Reyes's boots as a distant detonation echoed across the canyon's stone walls. She didn't flinch. Her senses had long since adapted to the unnatural rhythms of combat. Instead, she adjusted the optic on her rifle, scanning the upper ridge where the enemy signatures were converging. Dust clouds spiraled upward, a telltale sign of fast-approaching technicals. "They're coming hard," Briggs muttered from behind the sentry console, sweat clinging to his temple despite the cool desert night. "I count 3 pickup trucks, each mounted with DSHK heavy machine guns, probably 20 or more on foot behind them." Reyes crouched beside him, examining the layout on his tactical display. "Any drones in the sky?" "Negative. At least none visible yet." Briggs paused. "But I bet they're holding some back, waiting until we commit." "They think we're just another bird downed behind lines," Reyes murmured. "Let's show them how wrong they are." She stood and moved to the forward crate, popping the lid with a hiss. Inside were 2 stealth turrets, compact, AI-assisted, auto-tracking systems designed for situations precisely like this. Within 30 seconds, she had them positioned on either end of the narrow gorge, camo netting tossed over their bases. "We're not playing defense," she said, her tone steely. "We're making a kill zone." Briggs activated the secondary motion sensors along the path into the gorge. "All feeds linked. We'll see them before they see us." The first vehicle appeared a moment later, its engine revving as it skidded to a stop just beyond the crest. Gunfire erupted in the air, wild tracer rounds stitching red-orange arcs through the night. "They're trying to suppress us before they even see what's down here," Briggs muttered. Reyes didn't respond. She waited, calculated. Then, as the second vehicle crested the ridge, she gave the command. Light them up! The two turrets snapped to life, barrels rotating, targeting software locking on with silent precision. Twin flashes erupted, and the lead vehicle's gunner vanished in a mist of red. The second truck's tires were shredded before it could turn, sending the whole vehicle skidding into the ravine wall with a crunch of metal and bone. Panicked shouting echoed down the rocks. The Houthis had expected a wreck. They'd walked into a tactician's snare. Reyes kept her eyes on the battlefield, fingers steady on her rifle's trigger guard. They'll try to flank left next. Briggs already had eyes on the far slope. Confirmed. Movement. 5 hostiles, light gear, trying to scale the north wall. Reyes moved, fast and low, up a narrow ledge where the rocks naturally funneled into a bottleneck. She took cover behind a boulder, waited until the first Houthi silhouette appeared against the skyline, then fired. One clean shot, center mass. The other scrambled. Another dropped before they even returned fire. By the time Briggs deployed a micro-drone to monitor the opposite ridge, 4 of the 5 were either dead or bleeding into the gravel. Briggs spoke between updates. How long do you think before they call in something heavier? Reyes ejected her spent mag. Depends how stupid they are. Could be minutes. Could be... A deep grinding noise rolled in from the east. Then came the unmistakable whine of rotary blades. Not U.S. tech. She turned to Briggs. Did you hear that? He tapped into the drone feed, boosting audio. Yep, that's Soviet era. Looks like they pulled a Mi-24 Hind from some rust pile and got it flying again. Reyes bit down a curse. We need air support now. I'm already pinging the Defiant, Briggs said, but jamming's still bad. Might be 10 minutes before they even get our signal. Reyes exhaled slowly. Then we have 10 minutes to survive a gunship. The Hind crested the far ridge like a mechanical predator, nose-mounted autocannon glinting under starlight. It banked slightly, angling toward the gorge, clearly expecting to make short work of whatever lay hidden below. Reyes made her move. Pull the turret feed. Sync with my laser designator. Briggs handed her the tactical uplink. You're going to paint it? I'm going to blind it. Aim for the optics, then I'll make it think twice about flying low. The Hind began its first pass, unleashing a withering burst of cannon fire that tore through the upper rock wall, sending stone and shrapnel raining into the gorge. Reyes sprinted through the debris cloud, rolled into cover, then popped out and aimed her laser sight directly at the gunship's forward sensor pod. The helicopter jerked suddenly, veering away. Smoke spiraled from the side as one of the AI turrets scored a direct hit on its flank. Its rear rotor sputtered, dipping it to one side. The pilot fought to stabilize. Briggs whooped. That got its attention! Reyes didn't smile. It's not down yet. The Hind circled wide, but now every step it took closer meant exposing itself to the Predator's hidden firepower. Another hit glanced off its tail boom. It returned fire with rockets. One slammed into the canyon floor, carving a crater near the Predator's tail ramp. But the next volley came late. The Hind wobbled, veered, and with a painful groan of metal crashed into the far slope with a thunderous detonation. The ground shook again. Reyes ducked behind a rock, catching her breath. Enemy gunship down! We've got less than 5 minutes before they try again. Briggs, pale but steady, nodded. And the Defiant just acknowledged. Air support inbound. ETA. 4 minutes. She looked at the wreckage, the cratered canyon, the charred technicals above, and the scorched slope where the Hind lay in burning fragments. This isn't over, she said, but now they know who they're fighting. From above, a distant sonic boom echoed, the sound of Allied jets streaking through the night sky. The reinforcements were coming, and Reyes intended to make damn sure there was still a fight left for them to finish. The first streak of dawn crept across the horizon as the afterburners of the arriving jets ignited the thinning night. The sharp silhouette of an F-35 skimmed across the sky above, its roar a reassurance and a warning. Reyes stood near the fractured hull of the downed Hind, her rifle lowered, but her posture still coiled, every nerve aware that survival was only a temporary condition here. Briggs stood beside her, voice low. "That's the third flyover. Think they're clearing the perimeter?" Reyes scanned the ridge, her visor displaying movement, small, erratic signatures still retreating into the surrounding foothills. "They're running. Doesn't mean they're done." A voice cracked through her comms. It was the USS Defiance combat operations officer, clipped and calm. "Predator 1, you are green for extraction. Helos inbound, ETA 4 minutes. Be advised, satellite confirms enemy regrouping 2 clicks southeast. You've got a narrow window." Reyes keyed the mic. "Copy. We're prepping for lift." She turned and strode through the scorched battlefield, stepping over shell fragments and the jagged debris of what had once been enemy armor. Each detail etched itself into her memory, not out of sentiment, but as data. Every scorch mark was a lesson, every mistake recorded. She found Hart near the back of the ravine, splinting the leg of one of the crewmen caught in the initial crash. He looked up as she approached, eyes bloodshot but alert. "We're stable," he reported, "but Santos needs medevac, cracked femur and possible internal bleeding." Reyes crouched beside the wounded sailor. Santos met her eyes through clenched pain, nodded once. That gesture alone told her everything she needed to know. No panic. No wasted words. "He'll be first out," she said, then looked at Hart. "We get one clean shot at this. Make it count." The sound of rotor blades grew louder, echoing off the canyon walls. 2 Blackhawks appeared over the ridge, flanked by a pair of AH-64 Apaches. The air shimmered beneath them as they descended in tight formation, skids brushing against stone, wind kicking up a dust storm. Reyes gave the signal. The first squad began boarding with mechanical precision. Santos loaded onto a stretcher, gear handed off, weapons checked and slung. Briggs covered their 6 while Hart secured the ramp. But the wind changed. Reyes smelled it before she saw it. Smoke, thick and chemical, coming from the southeast slope. A volley of RPGs launched from the ridgeline, 3 red trails carving across the sky. One hit wide, exploding harmlessly in a dry wash. The other 2 flew true. The lead Apache banked hard, evading impact, its cannons swiveling and returning fire in a lightning-fast barrage that tore the cliff edge apart. Screams echoed briefly and then stopped. The second RPG clipped the rear rotor of one of the Blackhawks. Alarms flared. The helicopter dipped, fighting for lift. Reyes dashed forward as the side door swung open violently, banging against the hull. She caught it mid-swing and hauled herself inside. "Pilot!" she called over comms. "Stabilizing, barely," came the reply. "Tail's compromised, but we can limp back." Reyes turned to the crew. "Get him off the ground, now!" The wounded were secured, and with a stuttering roar, the damaged helo pulled upward. The remaining troops piled into the second Blackhawk. Briggs was the last aboard, launching a final grenade into the tree line to cover their ascent. Then they were rising, fast, suspended over the charred earth, the Apaches circling protectively. Reyes stared down at the battlefield as it receded below them. The canyon was a scar on the desert, filled with the smoke of war and the echoes of a mistake that the Houthis would not repeat lightly. She sat back against the helo wall, heart still thudding in her chest, adrenaline ebbing in waves. Across from her, Briggs gave her a long look. "They knew we were special operations," he said quietly. "This wasn't a random hit." She nodded. "They were hunting us specifically." "Why?" Her expression hardened. "Because someone told them we'd be here, and because someone doesn't want us getting back." A silence fell, heavier than before. Outside, the sky was lightening with morning, but for Reyes and her team, the mission had just shifted. Hart spoke over the team channel. So what now? Reyes looked out the open hatch, at the burned-out vehicles, the shattered rocks, and the distant smudge where enemy reinforcements still stirred. Now, she said, we hunt them back.